Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible? Okay, so
Yes,
welcome
ma'am.
to the next session. We have covered two topics in the morning session, and for afternoon session, there will be two topics. That is, first is actual fieldwork, data collection and analysis, and then report writing and submission. So today we have one expert, that is Dr. Kavita Vadrai madam. I request uh, Survey madam to introduce our expert.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It is my honor to introduce our esteemed resource person for this session. Dr. Kavita Vadrai, ma'am, is a distinguished academician and researcher, currently working as an assistant director and assistant professor at Yashwantrao Chavan School of Rural Development, Shivaji University, Kolhapur. With over 14 years of teaching experience and 12 years of research expertise, Dr. Vadrai ma'am has made significant contributions to the field of economics, particularly in the areas of money, banking, and financial institutions. Dr. Vadrari ma'am holds a PhD in economics from Shivaji University, Kolhapur, and has been recognized for her extensive academic background, which includes multiple qualifications such as NET in economics from UGC New Delhi and a master's degree in economics with specialization in microeconomics, macroeconomics, public finance, and quantitative techniques in economics. Ma'am also holds a postgraduate diploma in agribusiness with a focus on farm management, marketing of agribusiness, and the institutional framework of agribusiness. With a rich portfolio of over 15 research publications in reputed journals, more than 30 paper presentations at conferences, seminars, and workshops, and having attended over 30 academic events. She has also undergone more than 8 training programs in areas such as orientation, refresher courses, and faculty development programs. Her passion for academia extends beyond teaching as she has guided 20 master's degree projects and actively guiding 3 PhD students. Dr. Vadrai ma'am is an invited speaker at numerous academic forums, having delivered more than 15 invited lectures. Her interdisciplinary teaching approach spans across a wide range of courses for students of various disciplines, including BCom, BBA, BTech in food technology, MCom, MBA, and more. Her expertise, dedication to education, and extensive research experience make her a valuable contributor to the field, and we are privileged to have her to lead this workshop. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you, madam. Thank you for introduction. Good afternoon. Am I
Good
audible?
afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
I will share the screen. Okay, screen is visible to all of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. Shall I start?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Okay. So there are the two sessions. The one will be on actual fieldwork, collection of data, and analysis, and one more will be on the report writing. So first of all, in this 1 hour, we will discuss here the actual fieldwork, collection of data, and analysis. So in the morning session, I think Madam has covered the selection of the research topic as well as research ethics and many other points relating to the research. So, just within 1 or 2 minutes, we'll give the brief introduction regarding the research. So, already you heard in the morning session. So, research it means to add into the existing field of knowledge. So, it means whatever the knowledge is there, existing knowledge. So, again, we are adding something into that. So, that is the research. So, it means research, whatever the we are doing research. So that will be different than the earlier research. So that is expected in the research. So in the word research itself, read means again and search it means we have to find out. So search again and again, that will be the research. In the research, there are many parts, and one of the important part is data collection. So we begin with the research with the help of the research question or on which we are interested to do the research. We identify the research topic that will be based on some research problem, and afterwards you are having the thorough review of literature. So actually what kind of the research is done on that topic and what need to be done. So such kind of the terms we can use here, the review of literature. And afterwards, the important part of the research is data collection. So middle of that also many parts, but these are the broad aspect: the selection of the topic, review of literature, and again we go through the theoretical background and concept clearance, and we'll develop the tool. And for that tool, we will discuss here the data collection. So first of all, data collection, it means it is the purposive gathering of the information relevant to the subject matter of investigation. It means on which topic we are doing research. So regarding that, we have to collect the data. We have to collect the information. So therefore, the data collection, it means the purposive gathering of information relevant to the subject matter of investigation, relevant to the whatever the topic we have chosen for research purposes. It means collection of the information regarding any particular topic of the research. So that is simply we can say here the data collection. So this is one of the important step of the research inquiry. So again, when we are saying here the data collection, so then what is the meaning of data? So what exactly we can call the data? So there are the different kind of the data. So first of all, if you see, if you are going to conduct the credit survey, so in that case, for getting the credit survey, we are visiting to the loan borrowers. So therefore, the type of loans, the type of loan borrowers, so this kind of information we can call it as a data. Again, in case of the material management, items of raw materials required for a product line. So these number of items we can call it as a data. Suppose if we are having the consumers behavior study, so in that case we may get the sex, age, as well as the social category, religion, income level. Okay, so in that case, these things we can call here the data sets. So these are the variables, and through that variable we are collecting the data. We are asking the age, and we can have the category of the different age groups. Again, the social categories we may ask, and according to the social category, we may got some kind of the inferences. So it means based on the variables, we can collect the data. So suppose in case of the financial management, so what is the company's capital expenditure? So that can be considered as a data. Again, if we are going to take the opinion poll of the voting of the general election, so in that case, opinion of the people on voting, that can be considered as a data. So these are the some of the examples of the data. So these kind of the data we are going to collect. So when we can say here the data collection. So in that case, primarily there are two sources. The one is the primary data and other is the secondary data. So we can discuss little bit more about the primary data and secondary data. So primary data in the sense first hand collected data. Earlier that no one is collected such kind of the data. So that kind of data is called here the primary data. So it means first of all, first hand we are collecting that data. So such kind of data is not available earlier. Maybe the same population group survey is made by someone, but whatever the questionnaire, whatever the questions we drawn, so on these questions nobody has collected. So therefore, it is called here the primary data. So that kind of data is not available in earlier. So therefore, it is called here the primary data. So, for example, brand awareness, brand preferences, brand loyalty, okay, in case of the consumer behavior. So, in that case, we are collecting the first hand information. So, therefore, it is called here the primary data. And secondary data, it means someone is already collected. It is available in the published form. Suppose if you are going to collect the data like the branches of the Indian public and private sector banks, which is available on the RBI website. So, if we need the data of branches of public and private sector banks in India, so in that case, you can visit to the RBI and you can get such kind of the data. But whether the customers are satisfied with the public sector banks or private sector banks in the Kolhapur region, so if we are interested in such kind of the topic, so in that case, that data is not available on the RBI website. So, customer satisfaction regarding the public and private sector banks in Kolhapur region, if we are meeting the each and every customer and whether we are asking them whether they are satisfied or not satisfied, in that case, that data will be the primary data. And secondary data, it means which is available in the published form, in the form of reports or in a website or in the form of the books. So that is available. Suppose if we are interested in tax and as well as revenue and expenditure of the Kolhapur municipal corporation. So in that case, if we visit the Kolhapur municipal corporation, we can get the data. Otherwise, they are publishing their annual budget. So in that budget copy, we can also get the data. So such kind of data is called here the secondary data. So this is the primary data and secondary data. So just a minute, we can compare here what is the exactly difference between primary and secondary data. On the basis of originality, we can consider here primary data are original in nature and secondary data are not original in nature. So original in nature, it means uh, first hand we are not collecting that data. So therefore, which is called here secondary data are not original in nature. Again, collection expenses. So collection expenses of primary data is much more than the secondary data because secondary data is already available. So therefore, we do not put much energy, time, finance for collecting the secondary data. But we require more finance, more time, more energy for collecting the primary data. So therefore, obviously, collection expenses are more in the primary data rather than the secondary data. Again, suitability. So primary data are more suitable to the purpose of inquiry in hand. So whatever I have given earlier example, customer satisfaction of public and private sector bank services. So in that case, we cannot do research based on the secondary data. We have to compile only the primary data. So therefore, whenever the purpose of inquiry in hand, in that case, we have to collect the primary data. Otherwise, we can go to the secondary data, but topic will be suitable regarding that. Again, precaution, use of the primary data does not require much caution because we are collecting, we are formulating the questions and we are asking them and we are collecting that. So therefore, much caution is not required. But in case of the secondary data, the lot of caution, the lot of precautions we have to take when we are taking the secondary data. Suppose if we are taking the data, secondary data of what the number of accounts as well as turnover, period, like that. So in that case, so whether These are the public sector bank branches and private sector bank branches all over the India, or whether only the zone wise data is available, or whether the bank wise data is available. Okay, so that thing we should clear. So whether the number of branches, so number of branches were mentioned, these are the total branches or the branches of any specific bank, we have to clear it before taking the data. As well as if we are going to take the turnover or advances or loans, so whether these loans and advances are mentioned in the crore, lakhs, thousand, so that should be clear. But such kind of the confusion is not there in the primary data, because we know we are collecting that data. So therefore, much precaution is not needed in the primary data, but we have to verify each and every data in case of the secondary data. Again, sources. In case of the sources, primary data are collected from the statistical unit or population or individual or firms. But here in the secondary data are not collected from the statistical units, but from different publications or offices or agencies. We are going to collect the secondary data. So this is the difference between primary data and secondary data. If our topic is based on the secondary data, so in that case we can use the secondary data. So sometimes the entire research topic is not only based on the secondary data or not only based on the primary data. So sometimes we have to collect the secondary data partly, and based on that we may thought such some research question, and to verify that we may get also the primary data. So therefore, in the research we can use both primary data as well as the secondary data. So we can continue with the same topic, customer service, customer satisfaction of public and private sector banks. So in that case, we have to take the number of banks, the number of branches. So such kind of the secondary data we have to collect. So afterwards, by selecting the sample, we may select the number of branches from the public sector banks and number of branches from the private sector banks, and afterwards we select the number of customers from each bank. So for that purpose we have to move towards the primary data. So therefore in the research we are using both kind of the data, primary data as well as secondary data. Again, one of the important point in the data collection, and particularly in the primary data collection, there are the certain methods. There are the 4 methods of collecting primary data. The first will be the observation method, second will be the interview method, third will be the questionnaire method, and fourth will be the schedule. Okay. So first of all, we see here the observation method. So observation, it means we are observing. It means accurately watching, noting of the phenomenon as they occur in nature with regard to cause and effect of mutual relationship. So this definition is given by Oxford Concise Dictionary. So observation, it means purposively we are watching and we are noting how the things are happen and what happened, and we are trying to understand the mutual relationship between them. So this is the observation method. So what are the features of observation method? So observation method, this is an affair of eye. It means whatever we are observing with our eyes. Okay. So that thing we are noting. Okay. So therefore, the first feature we can say here, the observation, this is an affair of the eye. And the scientific observation is always purposeful, and purpose is to discover causal relationship. So scientific observation, it means with intention, with some purpose, with some objective, we are observing. So therefore, we are trying to find out the causal relationship between whatever the things are happened in the economy. Again, there is a planning. While observation, there should be a planning. And one of the important thing is, so observation, while observation, we have to note the thing while observation or after the observation, because there is a chances or gap in between the time. So when we observe and writing the report, there is a time gap. So therefore, after observation, the note taking is very important part in the observation. In case of the observation, there are the many types, the natural observation and contrived observation. So natural, it means when the situation happened. So that time, if we are observing, then that is called here the natural observation. Contrived observation, it means artificially we create the situation and observe how the people are behaving. So that is the natural and contrived observation. Structured and unstructured observation. So structured, it means in which method, in which way we have to observe, that structure is prepared, and accordingly the researcher will observe the things. Otherwise, whatever will appear in our eyes, so that we are observing, so that is called here the unstructured observation. So again, direct observation and indirect observation, likewise participant and non-participant observation, controlled and uncontrolled observation. So these are the different types of the observation. But simply you remember here, so observation, that is an affair of eye, and we are observing how the people are responding to our question, how the events are happening in the society. So based on that, we can draw some conclusions. Based on that, we got some inferences. So these are the type of the observations. So we have to cover many points. So I will not discuss each and every point in detail. So you just remember here. So what is the meaning of the observation? And observation is also one of the method of data collection we can use while collecting the data. So here, advantages and limitations, or you may call it as a merits and demerits of the observation. So observation, it is a very simple method we can use, and in some cases we cannot use other methods. So in that case, we can use only the observation method. But whatever the limitations, so in the limitations we may say here, it is the slow investigation. Again, it is a subjective explanation. Maybe the prejudices or the biasness will happen. And for having the observation, it is a very expensive method. And only the observation method for research purposes, it is not sufficient. So along with other methods of data collection, we can also use the observation method for collecting the data. So this is something about the observation. So now the second will be the interview method. So you can see the definition. So any one definition you can see. So we can go with the second definition. Interview is an effective, informal and non-verbal conversation initiated for specific purpose and focus on certain planned content areas. It means we are conducting the interview uh, on the planned content areas, and it is a effective informal as well as a non-verbal communication initiated for certain specific purpose. Okay, it means two parties are involved, and these two parties are initiating conversation regarding some particular topic. So that is the interview method. So interview is the well-known term, but in research, so how we are using, so that is most important. So what are the characteristic of the interview? So in the interview, it is a personal communication between the interviewer and interviewee. And again, there is equal status for both the interviewer as well as the interviewee. So no one is superior and no one is inferior. So both the parties, both the interviewer and interviewee, both have the equal status. And again, there is a body language. So based on the body language, we may understand some responses. So that body language we may consider here the observation method. So by answering some question, so we can identify here their expressions, and that can be observed while taking the interview. Again, for taking the interviewing skills are necessary, and it is a pre-planned activity. Suddenly, if we want to take the interview and we cannot go and take the interview, So it should have a pre-planning. So therefore, we can say here it is a pre-planned activity, and clear exchange between the interviewer and interviewee is essential. Again, here there are the different type of the interviews. The one is the formal interview, informal interview. Again, based on the number, sometimes we have to take the interview of single person, single individual, and sometimes we want to take the interview of the group. Suppose if we want to take the interview of the what the workers unions. So in that case, we may approach to the group. Okay, so therefore, based on the number, there are the personal interview and group interview. And again, based on the purpose, if we want to give a certain solution uh, of certain problem, in that case, we may have a diagnostic interview, treatment interview, research interview. So sometime for just curiosity, we are conducting the research. So that is a curiosity. So these are the types based on the purpose. Again, the period of contact. So sometimes we have to take a prolonged interview, and in some cases we may have a short interview also. So this is the short and prolonged interview based on the period of contact. Again, subject matter. So some qualitative subjects are there, quantitative subjects are there, and sometimes we may have a mixed qualitative as well as the quantitative subject matter. And again, finally, role. So non-directive, focused, and repeated. So these are the type of the interview. So this is not hard and fast to adopt any one type to our research. So we may adopt the combined interview techniques also. So sometimes we have to conduct the interview repeatedly if in a once a sitting we have not received all the information. So in that case, we may have a repeated interview. Sometimes we have to approach to the group. Sometimes we have to take the individual responses. So therefore, just this is the type of interviews for the sake of knowledge. But we can have any type of the interview method in our research. Again, before taking the interview, what are the precautions we have to take? What preparations we have to make before taking the interview? So while before going to the interview, we have to prepare a set of questions. Not only the set of questions, we have to think here whatever the possible responses, anticipated responses we may receive, and how to react in the sense how to again pose a question on that responses. Again, the knowledge of subject matter. So on which topic we are going to take the interview, so we should aware about that subject matter. Again, the knowledge of the daily routine of the interviewee. Otherwise, if we went there in his or her busy schedule, so in that case we may not get the response. So therefore, the knowledge of the daily schedule or daily routine of the interviewee must be aware. Again, we have to give the introduction card. So why we are going to conduct this research, what are the objectives, and what will be the tentative outcomes. So in that way, we have to give the introduction card. Again, interview of the leaders, selection of the respondents, and fixation of time and place. And later on, we can move towards the interview. And again, while taking the interview, we should follow these process. Like first of all, if we went to take the interview, research interview, in that case, we have to introduce ourselves, research topic, and the key objectives and key purposes and key outcomes, tentative outcomes of the research question. And again, purpose of the interviewer, beginning of the interview, and we have to create the free talk atmosphere. It means we have to get the trust of that interviewee, and again help in recall if something is not recalled by the interviewee. In that case, we have to help them to recall the answer with giving the different options. And research value questions, encouragement, motivate to participate in the research work, to emphasize how these research outcomes are important. So likewise, we have to encourage them, and again we have to provide the direction. So while giving the answers, sometime interviewee are going somewhere. So in that case, we have to provide a direction. And again, while responding, so at the time we have to take the notes. Okay, so that is called here the note taking. And again, with concluding the interview with giving the thanks, and afterwards we have to write the report. So this will be the process of interview. So in case of interview method, so this is a direct research, because directly we are meeting to the respondent interviewee. So obviously we get the more deep kind of the insights or responses. And again, this is the mutual encouragement for both the parties, interviewer and interviewee. So whatever the responses we are getting, these responses we are getting in a more clear way in the interview method. But at the same time, sometimes they are giving the misleading information, that is also possible. And one of the important thing is it is a very time consuming process, and taking the interview, it is a art rather than science. So just asking the question one by one and we are waiting for the response, so in that case we will not get the response. So therefore taking the interview, it is a art rather than the science. And also one of the important thing is emotionalism. So sometimes interviewer may become the emotional. So in that case, he or she may take the biased responses. So this kind of the things may happen in case of the interview method. So but obviously by taking the or using the interview method, that will be beneficial, but it is a time consuming process, and we have to spend more time and money on conducting the interview. And third will be the questionnaire method. You maybe you are more familiar with the questionnaire method while conducting the research. So questionnaire, in the sense, it is a useful tool for collecting the data, collecting the information. So you can see a questionnaire is a research instrument consisting of a series of questions and other prompts for the purpose of gathering information from respondents. So it means the n number of questions are there, and through that questions we are collecting information from the respondents. So these are the different definitions. We will not go through these definitions. So just enough, just to understand here, the number of questions we draw based on the purpose of the research, and we can ask these questions to the respondents. So here, what are the qualities are required in the good questionnaire? So language of the questions should be concise. It means it's not too broad and too short. So language of the question should be concise. Language should be clear. It should not be a double meaning for the respondents. Again, phrases and expression should be avoided. Again, words and jargon should be avoided. Technical words should be avoided. Suppose in case of the income, if you are asking the income, you may not ask the disposable income, because respondents don't know the meaning of disposable income. You just ask, after deducting the tax, how much income do you have for spending purpose? So in that case, he may get, he understand this kind of the question. But suppose you ask, what is your disposable income? So in that case, he is not in a position to answer that question. So therefore, such kind of the technical words we should avoid. Again, wording of the questions should not be make it easier to answer the response in yes and no. And again, units of question should be precisely stated. Again, we have to mention the period there. Suppose if we are asking income to them, but whether the monthly income, daily income, annual income, or family income, we should clear there. So whether we are asking the monthly income, whether we are asking the annual income, okay. So likewise, we should clear. Again, long question should be avoided. Okay. And again, we have to ask a single question for a single answer. We should not ask multiple answers in a single question. So in that case, respondents may skip some answers. So therefore, the principle we should follow here: one question, one issue or one answer is expected, and question should be appropriate. The sequence is also very important. Suppose if you ask, do you have a job? Yes. So where you are working, that is also fine, whether in public and private sector. Private sector, again, how much salary do you have? So that is good. And after, how much income do you save? So such kind of the sequence is important. Otherwise, so sometimes you ask the gender, you ask the some property or assets, and afterwards again you move towards the saving. So in that case, it is not linked the questions to respondent. So therefore, sequence of the questions is very important. So these are the some of the qualities of the good questionnaire. So we have to take care of these things while preparing the questionnaire. So again, while preparing the questionnaire, so there are the different type of the question. So just I have mentioned here the two types. The one is the open format questions. So suggest your problems or suggest your opinion. So such kind of the questions are called here the open format questions. So we can continue with the earlier example, that is the customer satisfaction. So, do you satisfied with the HDFC Bank services? So, this question, yes or no? Okay. So, this is the open format question, but we are not giving option there, yes and no. So, sometimes if we give the yes and no option, so then that is called here the closed format questions. If we are not giving any options, so in that case, that is called here the open format questions. So what kind of services do you prefer? So this is also open end question or open format question. So in that case, they may the respondents, they may tell their services and other things. So they are free to write any answer in that case. But here in the closed format questions, we are giving options. So options like yes or no, or maybe we are giving the Likert scale options like aware, neutral, fully aware, like that, or satisfied, not satisfied, fully satisfied. So such kind of the options we are giving. So suppose if we are asking them, do you have a gadgets? So do you have a gadgets? Yes, no, that's also enough. But if we are giving options, so do you have a gadgets, cell phone, laptop, iPad, digital camera? So they can select the options. So whatever the option is given by the researcher. So that is called here the closed format question. So do you satisfied with these kind of services? So in that case, they can select any one option. But if we are not giving option, so in that case, there is a chance of blank response we may get. Otherwise, diverse response we may get. So, but these kind of the questions we can set in our questionnaire. So, open format questions and again closed format questions. So, development of a questionnaire. So, already I have stated many points regarding the same. Okay, so these things also we covered. So, good questionnaire should be a short and simple questions arranged in a logical sequence from simple to hard question, and technical terms should be avoided. Some control questions which indicate reliability of the respondents. It means first we have to ask the income and then we have to ask the expenditure. So that sequence is important, and we can also check. And again, questions affecting the sentiments of the respondent should be avoided. Adequate space for answers should be provided in a questionnaire. Provision for uncertainty, that is also needed. And direction regarding the filling of questionnaire should be given. So sometimes we have to mention extra note in the questionnaire. So it will give the direction to the respondent. And the physical appearance of the questionnaire is also important, like the quality of the paper, color, font size, margin. So these things are also matter in case of the questionnaire. So nowadays we are collecting the data through the Google Forms, but the response is very low. Now you can see here the merits and demerits of the questionnaire. So through the questionnaire, we can collect the wide range of data. So that merit we have to consider here. And in case of the demerit, only we sent the mail through the post or through email, there is a very less chances to get back it. So therefore, only questionnaire is not sufficient. So in the COVID period, I have one project and I have sent around 500 mails to bank managers to get the data, but I have not received 20 responses also. So this is the drawback of questionnaire. We are sending them, but we will not get the assurance whether we get it back. So, but if we want to collect the data of a wider range, so in that case we can have the questionnaire method. And one of the important method, that is schedule method. Schedule is nothing but the combination of the questionnaire plus interview method. It means we will have a questionnaire and we are not sending it through the email or by post, but personally or surveyors, they visit to each and every respondents and they are asking the questions and collect the information. So that is called here the schedule. Okay, do you understand these four methods of data collection? Any doubts? Do you have questions on this part? Otherwise, we'll proceed. Rakesh Patil sir, Rohit Patil.
No, ma'am. It's a lot of information that needs to also check.
Okay, we'll move towards the next point.
Yes, please.
Yes, okay. So the secondary data, so already I have mentioned published sources like the government publications, semi-government publications, and publications of universities, publication of commercial and financial institutions, reports of committees and commissions, newspaper, periodicals, publication of international bodies. So different kind of the publications we can use as a source of the secondary data. But we have to check the reliability of the data, suitability of the data, and adequacy of the data before using. So now we can move here, analysis and interpretation. So before that, I would like to show you the questionnaire because we now discussed the sources of data collection. Okay, you just see here, this is a questionnaire I have prepared before 2-3 years back. You just see. So here, social category. This is in Marathi, but I think you understand it. Social category. We have given here the 4 options. So this is a closed type questions. And again, you see here, do you have a ration card? Again, in that case, we have given here options, 3 options, white, orange, yellow, like that. So within that, they have to select. Okay, cultivation method, traditional or modern. So these are the 2 options are given there. So now you can see here, do you have a job and which kind of job do you have, where you are working. So these are the open-ended questions. And how much salary do you have daily? Daily is asked here. So it means we should clear whether we are asking that wage in a daily or salary in a month or annually. So therefore these kind of the precautions we have to take. So these questions are called here the open-ended questions or open format questions. Again, you can see which bank account do you have. Again, you see here, if the formal source of loan is not sufficient, so why you move toward the other sources? So what are the reasons? So any reason they can mention here. So these are the open format questions. So again, one more question I would like to show here. You see, so we have to take the consent and why we are conducting the survey. So regarding that, we have to write something here, so they may get a clear idea about why the researcher is conducting research on this topic. So like that we can give a consent or a brief introduction about our topic. And again you can see here, so what are the things are expected here. So I have mentioned here what kind of the responses is expected here. Again you see, so if someone is not understand only just reading the question, so in that case they can see these notes, and based on that they can clear the doubts and they may answer the question. So therefore such kind of the additional information we have to provide them, so it will be easy to them to answer the question. So this is the questionnaire. So now we can move analysis and interpretation. So after collecting the data, either through the observation method, interview method, or questionnaire or schedule method. So anyway, we are collecting the data. So afterwards, we have to analyze that data, because whatever the data we collected, so that is the raw data. It has no meaning. So therefore, to convert that raw data into the meaningful data, we have to undertake the analysis of data. So that is the need of the analysis of data. So in the analysis of data, there are the several stages. The first will be the data processing. In the data processing, we should include the editing, coding, computer feeding, and again classification. The second stage or step you may call, that is the classification. So classification of the data. Then after classified data, we have to tabulate it. There is also in case of the tabulation, 2, 3 and manifold tabulation is available. And in case of data analysis, we can have a descriptive statistics and inferential statistics for data analysis. And afterwards, we will have the interpretation. So therefore, these are the different stages of data analysis and interpretation. So first of all, you understand here editing. So data editing, it is the process of reviewing whether we collected data is consistent or not, whether it is accurate or not, complete or not. So in this questionnaire, so many questions are there. But if we find that only initial part is filled by the respondent and remaining part is left, so such kind of the questionnaire we cannot include in our research. So we have to omit that question here. So whether all the questions responses we have received or not. Okay. So such kind of the consistency we have to check before entering the data. So that is called here the editing of the data. And again coding. So data coding, it is the process of assigning labels or codes to data to categorize it and make it easier to analyze. So suppose in case of if we collect the gender information, so we have to assign the male 1, female 2 while entering the data or coding the data. So likewise, we have to code and enter into the Excel. Then it is easy to have the inferences. So that is called here the coding. So we are talking here the data. So therefore, in case of the data, you see there are the 4 type of the data. The nominal data, it is the gender male and female. We can have the category. It is called here the categorical labels. And in case of the ordinal, satisfaction, awareness, for that we can have the ordinal data, and it is also categorical and ordered. And interval data, temperature, share price, highest and lowest. So that is the interval data. It is a numerical and no true zero. And fourth will be the ratio, that is the age, salary, height, any quantitative data we can consider here, and that is numerical. So these are the 4 type of the data sets. So regarding the same, I would like to show you the Excel sheet. So here it is visible to you.
It's too small.
Now you see.
Yeah, now it's better.
Yes, just you see the P column. Here it is mentioned here the type of business. And in the type of business, we have four options. The one is the retail, second is the manufacturing, third is the agri, four service, and fifth is other. So it means one we have labeled for retail, two is labeled for manufacturing, three is labeled for agriculture, four is labeled for service, and five is labeled for other. So, if we took here the first questionnaire, so if we get the response 1, from second questionnaire also we got the response 1. From third questionnaire we got the response 4. Service is the business type. And again 4. Like that we have to enter. Suppose whether you are collecting the 50 questionnaire or 100 or whatever the count. So whatever the responses we are getting, we have to enter into the Excel after the coding. So likewise, we can have the coding here. Again, you can see here, uh, you see purpose for which loan is availed. In that case, for new business and existing business. If the person is taking loan for new business, then we have to enter 1. And if the person is taking loan for expanding the business or existing business, in that case, we have to mention the 2. So likewise, we have to code it, and afterwards we have to feed into the computer. In Excel or in SPSS, you can have the data analysis. So this is called here the coding of the data. So this is the question here, and likewise we can have the code sheet, enter the data into Excel, and afterward we can classify the data. So next point is the data classification. So here you understand, data classification is the process of arranging data into homogeneous groups according to their common characteristics. It means we are categorizing the data according to their characteristic. The same characteristic data we put into one group, and different characteristic data we put into the another group. So here you see the purpose for which loan is availed. So new business. So how many out of the 100 respondents? So how many borrowers taken the loan for new business, and how many borrowers taken the loan for the existing business? From 100 respondents, if we observe 1, 2, we may not came to any conclusion. If we want to came to conclusion, we have to classify the data. So for classifying the data, first of all, we coded it, and we can just filter here and we can check. So how many respondents are taken the loan for new business, and how many people are taking the loan for the old business. Okay. So like this we can have the classification. This is called here the classification. Otherwise we cannot came to any conclusion. Okay, in case of the classification, there are also the different type of the classification. Now you see the geographical classification is there. Suppose if we are collecting the sample from Western Maharashtra, which includes the Sangli, Satara, Kolhapur, Pune and Solapur. Suppose you have the 20 respondents from the Kolhapur, 30 respondents from the Sangli, again 20 respondents from the Solapur, likewise. So in that case, you arrange that classification based on the geographical classification. Suppose if you are taking the number of small industries in Maharashtra, so if you categorize it based on the district or tehsil or whatever, so that is called here the geographical classification. So again, chronological classification. Suppose if you are interested to know the number of small scale industries growth in Maharashtra since 1991 or since 2000. So each and every year you are collecting the data 2000, 2001, 2003, 4, 5 and up to 25. So this kind of data, that is called here the chronological data. Suppose if you are taking the number of branches of public sector banks since 2005. So every year we are collecting the data and we are checking the growth. So whether the number of branches are increases or decreases. So that is called here the chronological classification. It means year wise we are classifying the data. And again, qualitative classification. So that is the descriptive characteristics. Suppose if we are getting the customer satisfaction, again male and female. Again in the male and female, we may categorize based on that education, educated, literate or illiterate. So such kind of the classification is called here the qualitative classification. And the quantitative classification, that is the data we are collecting. So whatever the questionnaire I have shown, so based on that, we are collecting the data and we can classify and we can have a n number of methods are there and we can classify the quantitative data. So you just see in the quantitative data, we may present quantitative data into the individual series, discrete series and continuous series. So individual series, it means if you are getting the response from 10 respondents and each and every respondent's response is different. In that case, you can have a individual series. Discrete series in the sense, same response you are getting from many number of people. So that is called here the discrete series. It means frequency is added there. In a simple example, it is not a research example, but you consider it. Marks obtained. 4 marks is obtained by 6 students. So 6 students are getting the 4 marks. So 6 is the frequency of 4 marks. So likewise, suppose if we are asking the income of the consumer or any person in our questionnaire, suppose up to 5 lakh income, families we received maybe 10 respondents. So 10 is the frequency of income up to 5 lakh. So that is called here the discrete series. So in the discrete series, we are having the frequency. Again, in the continuous series, if you are collecting the data, not only the 10 and 20 respondents, but you are collecting the respondents from more than 100. So in that case, it is not possible to have only the frequency because we may have a variety of response. So in that case, we can categorize these responses into the continuous series, like the 10 to 20, 20 to 30 here mentioned. But suppose if you are taking the income, so we can classify that income up to 1 lakh, 1 to 5 lakh, 5 to 10 lakh and more than 10 lakh. So such kind of the classification we can make and we can enter the responses. So here in that case, these are the different kind of the series, exclusive series. So in the exclusive series, you just observe here 10 to 20, 20 to 30. It means we are adding only 20 in first series or in second series, but we excluded 20 from one series. So therefore it is called here the exclusive series. And inclusive series, you just observe here 0 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40. It means upper limit of the one class will not be the lower limit of the another class in the inclusive series. But in the exclusive series, upper limit of the one class will be the lower limit of the another class. In our research, by categorizing the income 1 to 5 lakh and 5 to 10 lakh. Likewise, if we categorize, that is called here the exclusive class. And if we categorize 1 to 5 lakh and again 5 lakh 1 to 10 lakh, 10 lakh 1 to 15 lakh. So that is called here the inclusive series. And again open end classes also we may have like the below 10. So sometimes we mention the income below 1 lakh and above 10 lakh. That is called here the open-ended classes. So such kind of the classes we can make and that is called here the continuous series. So these kind of the classification we can have. So lastly, we should understand here why there is the classification. So what are the importances of the classification? So raw data, we cannot came to any conclusion. So therefore, presenting statistics in a simple form, classification is essential. And based on the classification, we can understand here the similarities and diversities in the statistics. And based on the classification only, we can make a comparison. For making the comparison, classification is essential. And again, presenting statistics in condensed form, because if you see this sheet, we cannot came to any conclusion. But if we converted that sheet into the different kind of the tables, so in that case we may understand, and in a short space we can do it. So therefore, presenting statistics in a condensed form, classification is essential. Again, helpful in analysis of the statistics. So therefore, the classification of data is essential. Again, after the classification, we should have a tabulation. So tabulation, you can see any one definition. A statistical table is a classification of related numerical facts in vertical columns and rows. So these are the objectives. So simplification of the complex data, we have to prepare a table and highlight the important information through the tabulation. Enable it is easy to compare. Again, for statistical analysis purpose, tabulation is needed. It saves the space and it is the attractive form. So therefore, tabulation is essential. So what are the essential parts of the table? When we are giving the table, at that time, we should give the table number. Again, title of the table is also essential. That title should be clear, not too much short and not too much long. And that table title should clear the purpose of the table. Again, head notes, figures in lakh, rupees, or anything that should we can give like as a head note. And again, column headings and captions, and row headings and stubs, body of the table, footnote, and source note. You just observe here. Okay. Here in this table, you observe the just a minute. Okay. Here the table number as well as the title of the table, and again subheadings and subheadings for the column as well as the subheading of the row. And lastly, we have to mention here the footnote and source in the table. Okay, these are the different types of the table. So as like the classification, here the general purpose table and again special purpose table. For specific purpose, we can make a single table. Otherwise, for combined for any purposes, we can make a special purpose table. Later on, the second will be the basis of originality, the original table, and sometimes we have a percentage table or ratio based table. So that is called here the derived table. And third will be on the basis of construction. It is the simple table or complex table. So complex table, it may be the two-way or two-fold table or three-way or three-fold table and many-fold table. It means many columns and many rows are involved in a single table. So that is called here the complex table. So these are the different types of the tables. Again, in the rules of tabulation, we just remember here whatever the points are mentioned here, table number, title of the table, title of the table, it should be self-explanatory. Again, head notes we have to mention here whether it is in income, so whether that income is reflected in 1,000 lakhs or whatever. Again, footnote, if we want to give any additional information, we have to mention in the footnote. Again, in the source, from which source we have collected the data, so that source should be mentioned. And if it is a primary data, we should have to mention there the actual field data like that. So these are the some of the rules of the tabulation. Again, after the tabulation, we can make the data in attractive presentation through the graphical presentation. Like the pie chart we can use, bar graph we may use, line graph, histogram. So these are the different graphical presentation tools we can use. So same whatever the rules of the tabulation, so the same rule we have to follow in case of the graphical presentation. For graph also we have to give a suitable title, measurement of the unit, proper scale and index, data sources. It should be a simple, neat. So these are the general rules we have to follow in case of the graphical presentation of the data. And again, the important part is data analysis. In the data analysis, there are the two type of the data analysis. The one is the descriptive analysis and another is the inferential analysis. You see here in the descriptive analysis, first of all, there are the many things are involved into the descriptive analysis. Simply we can calculate here the average, that is the mean, median we can calculate, the mode, most common value we can identify, percentage we can calculate, frequency we can calculate, range, if we in our data set we need to calculate the range, in that case we can calculate the range. So these are the descriptive analysis we can apply for our data set. Again, in case of the inferential analysis, we can have a correlation. So correlation in the sense, suppose if we are finding customer services, so number of bank branches and customer satisfaction, if is there any relation, so in that case we can have a correlation. Again, regression, dependent and independent variable, for that purpose we can have a regression technique. Also we can use the analysis of variance. So these are the descriptive and inferential statistical tools we can use in case of the data analysis. So after collecting the data, we have to code the data, enter the data, classify the data, and after classification we can have the data analysis part. It means we can use the statistical tools. It may be the inferential statistics or descriptive statistics. So these are the tools we can use for the data analysis. So one point is missing in this presentation. So in the title, you see actual fieldwork, collection of data and analysis. So actual fieldwork. So what precautions we have to take? So we know here the different methods of the data collection as well as how to process the data. All these parts we discussed. But in the actual field work, we have to take precautions while filling the questionnaire, while asking the interview, or while taking the note of the respondents. We have to take some precautions. Suppose if you are if you made the questionnaire and you went to the field, and your sample is maybe the 10 respondents from each village, but sometime in some village you may get the 10 response, and sometime you get the less than 10 response. So in that case you should shift the village. It means our sample size is 10 respondents from each village, 10 respondents from each colony. In that case we have to collect in that way only. Otherwise, if we not got the response, in that case we have to shift the colony, we have to shift the village, we have to select the other village, and we have to take the 10 respondents from that village. It means non-response from the respondents. So this problem may happen at the time of the actual field work. And again, when we went to the field at that time, honestly we have to fill up the response. So honesty in the sense what the respondents are responding and what we are noting, because at all the time researcher is not going to field. So sometimes surveyors are going to field. So in that case, the honestly note taking is also important, and also the interest of the work. So sometimes we hire the surveyors for field survey, but if they are not interested in the survey, in that case we may not get the true response from the respondents. So therefore interest in the work is also much important. So generally at the beginning they have the interest, but after doing some work the interest may lose. But this will not happen. Again, the accurate information is needed, because we are spending the time, energy, and everything. So therefore accurate information from the respondents we have to take. Otherwise we'll not go again field and we cannot collect it. So therefore accurate information is also needed. And for the field work we need a communication skill. If you are going to field in the remote place or in the rural area, in that case we have to adopt that kind of the environment, and we have to ask them in their language. So in that case only we may get the response. So therefore the communication skill is very important while doing the actual field work. So this is the collection of data. We had covered here the four data collection methods, like the observation method, interview method, questionnaire method, and schedule method. These four parts are included in the primary data, and from secondary data, from published sources, we can collect the data. And in the data analysis, first of all, we have to process the raw data. Again, we have to classify it, tabulate it. We have to make a graphical presentation, and then we can use the statistical tools to get some inferences from that data. I hope you understand these are the different sources. Do you have any doubts? We will have a discussion on that also.
Hello, students, if you have any doubts, please ask.
No doubts, ma'am. And thanks for the whole lot of information. It's a good thing to know in the introduction things actually, because it will help for a project when we are doing actual thing. We will have much of the questions, but as of now, not. Thanks. You're talking on mute,
Uh,
ma'am.
So after 15 minutes, we have one more session on report writing.
So
yes,
15
madam.
minutes break.
Yeah.
Yes,
Shall we take a
yes.
break or we can continue?
Everybody needs break, I believe, and you also. You are
Yeah.
talking more than 1 hour actually.
Okay, we'll take 15-minute break and I will show you one report at the time of report writing presentation.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. If now, as of now, you if you don't have any doubts, you still any doubts for the second session for on the first session, that time you can also ask.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
असं माळखाला चांगलं वाटते ते भारी वाटते आम्ही सहसा त्याला शाळा म्हणते आपल्याला उठून राहायचं दुसऱ्याचा विचार करण्यासाठी आपला पण विचार करायचा रे नको त्यांचे चांगलं केलं दुसऱ्याकडे लक्ष द्यायचं नाही स्वतःकडे लक्ष द्यायचं आपण काय म्हणतो, काय आपली किंमत काय आहे किंमत काय आहे शाळेत किंमत काय आहे क्लासमध्ये किंमत काय करायचं नाही त्याकडे एकदा
Okay, shall we start?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, screen is visible.
Yes, madam.
Okay. Okay. In the first session, we had seen how to collect the data, how to tabulate it, classify it, what are the statistical tools we have to use for getting the better inferences, and all these things. So now we can move towards the last part of the entire research process. So that is the report writing. So this is very, very important step in the research, because whatever we did in the entire research work, so that is presented in the form of the report. So therefore research report is one of the key point or key element in the entire research process. So you see the definition, you can see any one definition. We'll see the first one. A report is formal communication written for a specific purpose. It means without the purpose, we are not writing there. It means for conducting the research, we have a purpose. So therefore, it is a formal communication, because when we are writing a report, it means we are communicating with audience, communicating with the readers. So therefore, it is a formal communication written for a specific purpose. It means for specific purpose we are writing something, and that writing is a formal writing. So it includes a description of procedures followed for collection and examination of data, their significance, the conclusions drawn from them, and recommendations if required. It means it is a formal communication written for a specific purpose, and it includes the description of the different procedures were adopted in the entire research process. That procedure may be the collection relating to the collection of data using a particular method, It may be in case of the examination of data and its significance, and whatever the inferences we drawn based on that entire process. So these are the things we systematically report into our entire draft. So this is called here the report. So there are the different type of the reports. It may be the technical report or thesis. The second will be the popular report, interim report, summary report, abstract, research abstract, and research article. So in these different forms, we can have the report. We can write a report. So technical report, thesis, it may be the we can call here it is a academic report. So it means if you are going to write a report for your MBA project report, so that thing we can consider here technical report. Or if the research student, PhD student writing the report, so that report we can call here as a thesis. So this is called here the technical report or thesis. So popular report, some of the government reports. So national education policy. So this may we can call it as a popular report. Again, national population policy report. So these are the popular report written for a general public. So interim report, in case of the company, they are publishing report quarterly. So that may be the interim report. And sometime when there is a big project, so entire we cannot wait up to the completion of the entire project. So part of the project is completed, we can prepare a report, work done so far. So that may call or consider under the interim report. And summary report, based on the entire work, we can write it in a summary form. So that is called here a summary report. Again, research abstract, it is also short, and research article. So maybe 5 pages, 10 pages, up to 20, 30 pages, we can write a research article. So these are the different types of the report. But any kind of the report, we can consider the report is a formal communication written for a specific purpose, and it includes the entire procedure adopted for completing the research work. So here why the report is important. So is it really report is needed? Yes. So why the report is needed? Because report is means of communication. You are doing your MBA research project, but how you can communicate with others? So for communication purpose, we have to write it. So therefore, it is a means of communication. If we publish it in the form of research article, this is available to readers. So through that we can communicate with the readers, through that we communicate with the people. So therefore report is a means of communication. If we collect the data, we can write them, we did entire things, but we have not written the report. In that case, we cannot communicate with others. So therefore, for making the means of communication, a writing of report is important. Again, whatever the unknown facts we know, but others don't know. So in that case, we can convey our facts, we can convey our unknown facts, interesting findings, interesting inferences to readers through the report. So without the report, it is not possible to convey them. So therefore, the report is needed. Again, facilitate validation of generalizations. So someone arguments, but whether that argument is right or wrong, someone states some statement, but whether that statement is right or wrong, so how we can prove? We can prove with the help of the conduction of the research and publishing the report. So therefore, we can validate we can validate the results, we can generalize the results based on the report. So therefore, for that purpose also, the research report is essential. Again, aids in decision making based on the inferences, unknown facts, we can came to some conclusion. Suppose if you are writing a report, we can continue the earlier topic like customer satisfaction of public and private sector banks. And we identified that private sector banks are providing good services to the customers. rather than the public sector banks. So this kind of the inferences will help to the public sector banks to improve themselves in providing services at par with the private sector banks. So therefore, it aids in decision making. Again, improves the communication skills of the researcher and it provides guidance for future research. In only one single research report, it is not possible to address all the research questions. So we may in the sense the researcher may touch any one aspect of the research question, but he can explore the many topics for the future research also. So the research report it will guide to the future researchers to do research on any particular topic. So therefore, there is a need of writing a report. So therefore, these are the importances of the report. While writing the report, so what precautions we have to take? So first is the proper size is important. So proper size it means report should be long enough to cover the subject. At the same time, it's short enough to maintain reader's interest. It should not be too much lengthy and it should not be too much short. So appropriate size of the report is needed to keep the interest of the readers. Again, proper mechanics. So proper mechanics in the sense whatever the techniques we use and the proper quotation marks, punctuation marks, footnotes, source notes, use of abbreviations. So these things we have to mention in our report. Carefully we have to take care of all these things. Again, the proper style. So style in the sense the language should be simple, lucid, and systematic. And in the research report, we should avoid it seems it may be it like such kind of the sentences. Again, the proper contents. So proper content it means for specific purpose we did the research procedure. So therefore that report should consider the content. It should fulfill the objective of it should fulfill all the objective of the research purpose. So therefore introduction to the problem, rationale for selection of the problem, objectives of study, hypothesis, sample design, research methodology, collection of data, analysis of data. So all these parts should be covered in the research report. Again, the proper layout. So layout in the sense introductory part, body of the report, back matter. So these things should be covered in the layout. So in later part we will talk on the proper layout. And again, proper writing. So proper writing it means continuity in the thought. It should be must while writing the report. Again, proper attention should be paid in case of the presentation, in case of the logical arrangement of the concept, logical arrangement of the interferences. Okay, accurately mentioning the figures, facts, cross referencing. So all these should consider in proper writing. Again, proper drafting. So proper drafting it means drafting is the final stage, but we have to make the rough draft and we have to revise the draft, refine the draft so the quality will be maintained. And again, proper presentation of the findings. So whatever the inferences findings we drawn, so that should be properly discussed with some justifications. Again, point of original contribution. So how this research report is originally contributed into the that existing knowledge or existing topic that should be mentioned. And last one is sustained interest of the reader is very important because we are writing the report to read someone. So therefore, sustained interest of the reader that is important. So these are the precautions in report writing we have to take. Again, what are the steps in report writing? So first step will be the analysis of the subject matter. So analysis of the subject matter, it means here we have to mention why the particular topic is chosen. So how we are going to study it, what are the objectives, okay? So that should be mentioned. So that is the analysis of the subject matter. The second will be the final outline. preparation. So how we are dividing our entire work in how many chapters, in which flow. So that is called here the outline preparation. Then third will be preparation of rough draft. So rough draft in the sense if we decided to make a 5 chapters. So in first chapter tentatively what contents we are going to include. In second chapter how we want to present it. So that kind of the rough draft we have to prepare. And after preparing the rough draft, we have to rewrite, polish it. So we have some kind of finishing for our entire writing. And again, uh, we have to add a bibliography. That is the preparation of final bibliography. So bibliography in the sense whatever the material, it may be the books, website, research papers we used for writing a report. So we have to mention there. So if we are using someone's article, someone books, we have to give credit to them. So therefore bibliography is needed. Again, writing the final draft. After doing all these things, we have to give a final touch on that report. So therefore, that is called here writing the final draft. So once we started to write the draft, so it is a continuous process. So if we have a time gap, so there is a mismatch in the writing. So therefore, without gap, continuously we have to write the draft. So in that case only we can have some kind of the logical sequence and ideas, inferences we can draw neatly. So therefore, these are the important steps are involved into the report writing. First of all, we have to analyze the subject matter. We have to give the final outline preparation, preparation of the rough draft. After preparing the rough draft, we have to rewrite and polish it, preparation of the bibliography, and finally writing the final draft. So now you see here research report format. In the research report format, there are the 3 parts in the entire research report. The one is the preliminaries, the second is the textual body, and third is the references. But these 3 things are very important. So now we can discuss here what are the elements are covered into these 3 different uh, parts of the research report. So first of all, in the preliminary section, the what are the contents, what are the points are included in the preliminary section of the report. uh, these are the points are there. The one is title page. It means we have to prepare a title page. So the topic of the research topic, title of the research topic, to whom we are going to submit, who is going to submit, who is the guide for that. Okay, again, in which period they are going to submit, and for what purpose they are submitting this report. So these are the things are involved into the title page. Again, preface or acknowledgement. So preface and acknowledgement, it means we have to say thanks, uh, from whom we have taken the help. Suppose if you are conducting a survey and writing a report on customer satisfaction of public and private sector banks, you visited the bank officers, and again you have got the permission from them. So your responsibility is to must say thanks to bank managers. Again, if you are taking the data from the library and report is helped by someone, so in that case you can say thanks to them also. So such kind of the names we have to mention. Suppose you are submitting to any organization, or if you have a guide, in that case you can also say thanks to them. So this is a preface or acknowledgements. Again, you have to mention the table of content. So table of content in the sense in which flow entire research report you are going to present. So that is called here the table of content. Again, the list of tables. So how many tables you have, and what are their numbers, on which page number you have which table. So such kind of the details you should give in the list of tables. Again, list of figures in the sense how many tables you are having, the numbers with page number. You should give all these details into the list of figures. I will show you the demo of all of these points in later part. But you just remember here in the preliminary section, we should include the title page, preface or acknowledgement, table of contents, list of tables and list of figures. And in the main body of report or textual body, it is called here the body of the entire research report. So here, main 4 points are there. The one is introduction, second will be the review of literature, and third will be the design of study, analysis and presentation of data, and conclusion. So this may vary according to your research report, but tentatively we should consider all these points into the body of the report. In the introduction, we have to mention the statement of the problem. So why we selected this particular topic, why we have selected this particular research question, justification behind that. So that is called here the statement of the problem. What are the objective? On which objective we are going to work in this report? We have to mention there. Again, what statement we are going to prove? So that is the hypothesis to be tested. So what are the hypotheses we set? So that hypothesis we have to mention there. Again, significance of the problem. So why there is need to study on this particular topic? We have to discuss. That is called here the significance of the problem. Again, what are the assumptions we had and delimitation? And again, definitions of important terms used. So these are all the parts we can include into the introduction. And review of literature, it means suppose if you have selected the topic like the customer satisfaction of public and private sector banks. So in that case, if anyone earlier than me did research on this topic, we have to check. Okay. So whether they just check the customer satisfaction of public sector banks, customer satisfaction of the private sector bank, customer satisfaction of the cooperative banks, or customer satisfaction of banks in Maharashtra or Kolhapur, we have to check. So how much research is already done on that topic. So for that purpose, we have to conduct the review of literature. If already lot of research is on the customer satisfaction of banking services in Kolhapur district, so then why again we are doing research on that topic? There is no use of that. So therefore, there is need to check at what extent the research is done on that particular topic. Any untouched area is there on which we are going to work. So to check that thing, we have to have the review of literature. So therefore, we have to conduct the review of literature. So for many purposes, we are conducting the review of literature. But this is a basic purpose. And again, if we selected a topic, no one has worked on that. So then to check what kind of methodology they have used, to check what kind of variables they were used, so what kind of statistical tools they were used. To check all these things, we can also have the review of literature. So we have to mention here number of works done on that topic, related topic. In earlier, we have to list it in a summary form. So that is called here the review of literature we have to mention. Again, design of the study. So what methods we were used? It means already in earlier session we discussed methods of data collection, methods of analysis, methods of classification. So what kind of the methods and procedures were used, tools of research and sources of data, techniques of data sources, description of techniques used, why we use that particular technique. So such kind of the analysis we can made in the design of the study. And again, analysis and presentation of data. In that part, we can have a analysis and presentation of data. So in the analysis of data, we can have a table, graph, and interpretation. So table and interpretation, figures and interpretation. So like that, we can have the analysis and presentation of data. So last part will be the conclusion. In the conclusion, we can have a discussion of results, main findings and inferences, implication of the findings, and suggestions for further studies. So Based on the entire analysis, we can have a conclusion or main findings, inferences. Based on the main findings, we can have some suggestions. Okay, suggestions to the public sector banks or private sector banks based on the whatever the inferences we had. Okay, so these are the parts were included in the body part of the report. So now you see the last section, third section of the report, that is reference section. So in the reference section, we have to mention the bibliography, again appendices. So sometimes we have a major tables and it is not possible to include all the tables into the body part. So in that case, we can extract the percentages, ratios. So in tabulation, we discussed original table and derived table. Original table we may keep in the appendices, and derived table maybe percentage table, maybe average table, maybe ratio table we can consider into the body part of the report. So appendices, we can use the original table. Again, we can keep the questionnaire in the appendices. So such kind of the things we can keep in the appendices. And third is index or glossary, if any, we can mention. Suppose if we mention the RBI, RBI is the well-known term. But if someone don't know, so in that case, we have to give a full form. RBI is the Bank of India, like that. Okay. So PSB, Public Sector Bank. In all the way we mentioned the PSBs, but here we have to give the full form. PSB, Public Sector Banks. PSRB, Public and Private Sector Banks, like that. So the glossary or indexes, if needed, we can add. So this is not a compulsion, but if something is there, we can add such kind of the things in the reference section. So this is the main format of the research report. So I will show you the format of this report. I have the reports. Just a minute. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you see here in the first part, preliminary section, we mentioned here the title page, acknowledgement, table of content, list of tables and list of figures. You can see all these things in this report. This is the first page. Actually, this is the funding agency's report. So therefore, we have mentioned this thing. Otherwise, your MBA research project also you can prepare like this. So what is the title of the research project? Research title. So you see an evaluation of formal and informal rural finance in Western Maharashtra. So we have to mention our research title. Again, to whom we are submitting, whether we are submitting to Shivaji University, whether we are submitting to any other university, whether we are submitting to any company. So here, this is submitting to Indian Council of Social Science Research. Okay. So who is going to submit? You see, project director, the name, student name, you can mention here. Again, that name, the name of the student or whatever, they are working here in Shivaji University. In which month they are going to submit? October 2021. So like this, we have to mention, we have to prepare the title page. You can use the logo of our university while submitting. The formats, sometimes format is given by the institution and accordingly we have to prepare. But the key points are research title, to whom we are submitting, who is submitting, and in which month, year they are going to submit. So these things we have to keep there. Again, declaration. So declaration is important. So what is mentioned here? This is the title, already I mentioned, submitted to ICSSR, and record of work carried out by me during period this. And what I am declaring here, material obtained from other sources has been duly acknowledged in the report. And this is the original report. So like that, we have to declare, okay, whatever the sources I have used, that is mentioned, acknowledged. Okay. So that kind of the declaration or whatever the research I did. So that is the original research I did. So likewise, we have to declare. So that is the declaration. And again, here in the acknowledgement, you see, first of all, I have to say the acknowledgement, thankful to the ICSSR because they provide funds to me to conduct this research. Being a MBA research project, as a part of a research study, you are doing, as a part of a MBA program, you are doing research. So therefore, you can also mention there, you can say thanks to authorities of that organization. Also, you can see here, I hired that time. These are the research assistant. So I express my gratitude to them also. Again, you see here, I would like to great thanks to manager and office staff of the lead bank office and different bank branches from Kolhapur. It means they helped me to complete this research work. So therefore, I have to say thanks to them also. Okay. So likewise, we have to mention here the acknowledgement. Again, you see in the preliminary section, table of content, list of tables and list of figures. So in that you see here, this is a table of content. So table of content, we have to mention here declaration, but page number is not given here. Acknowledgement, content part is, this is the content part. You see the first chapter. It includes the introduction and research methodology. In that I have mentioned these points. And again, I use the references. So therefore, I also mentioned there. Again, second chapter is on this. Third will be this one. Fourth will be this. Fifth one be like this. Sixth one like this. Seventh will be like this. So this is called here the content. Content in the sense, entire our research report, how we structured it. So that is mentioned in the content. So it is not needed to see each and every page. If we see the content, we can came to know what are the points are included into the research. Okay, how many chapters are there? Okay, where the review of literature part is mentioned, on which page uh, bibliography is mentioned, on which page conclusion is mentioned. So such kind of the things we can got through the content. So therefore, you should mention here the contents chapter wise and page number. You see here. So what the significance of the study? Or you just see here any other point, maybe you can consider here the profile of Kolhapur district, 44 page number. Suppose you go to the report here and 44 page number. In that case, you can identify here profile of Kolhapur district. Okay, you can get here. So therefore, mentioning the page number and content is essential. So it will help to the reader to identify which point is lies on which page number. So this is called here the table of content. So again, you see the list of tables. So if you had a number of tables, so you should give the table number, and again you have to mention the on which page number that table lies. Suppose if you see here, distribution of sample by location, table number 2.2, distribution of sample by location, which is lies on the 60 number page. So in that case, you see, you go to the 60 number page, you see that table is lies there. Okay, see 1.2 distribution of sample by location. Okay, so you can identify that table number, table title and page number. Okay, so likewise we have to mention here the list of tables. Similarly, we have to take the table list of figures. List of figures. Say, suppose you took here the figure 4.1, age profile of the respondents. So you can go here. 4.1, 64 page number. 64 page number. You go here and you can identify. Just a minute, I think. Oh, chapter 4. Okay. Age profile of respondents. 4.1, age profile of respondents. You can identify here. Age profile, page number 64, 4.1. Okay. So we have to prepare here the list of figures, list of tables, content, and acknowledgement and title page. So these all the parts are covered into the preliminary section. So it means we are introducing our topic to readers. So what are the things are included? How we are presented our report. So this kind of the information we got from the preliminary section, and in the preliminary section these are the things are involved. So you just go through it. Title page, declaration, acknowledgement, content, again list of tables and list of figures. So likewise we can prepare it. So now you see here body part of the report. So body part of the report we can also see here. In the content itself you can identify all these points, preliminary part, body part and referencing. So these things are called here the preliminary part of the research report. And from chapter 1 to chapter 7, it is called here the body part. And from bibliography, glimpses of data collection, appendices, all these things are called here the references. So now we can turn here the body part of the report. So in the body part of the report, we can arrange in a different way, not necessarily mentioned in this presentation. Just these are the guidelines. But in the body part, in the introduction, first of all, we have to give the introduction. So in the introduction, brief introduction you should give regarding the research topic. In that also you can mention the review of literature. Otherwise, you can prepare a different chapter for the review of literature. Here you can see Curacy 1984 gives a brief review of the passbook scheme. Likewise, what they did in their work, we have to mention here in the review of literature. Thanks 1988. It means thanks he has presented or published his paper in 1988, and he worked on the performance of ABC and RCC and had the trend of the rural bank deposits and loans, type of loans, ABC, RCC, etc. We have to give a brief summary of their earlier research work. So we have to mention all these things. So this is called here the review of literature. Thereafter, you state here the origin of the research problem. That is also called here a statement of the problem or research question. So why you are going to do research on that particular topic. So you have to give justification. You have to write the statement of the problem. Again, objectives. What are the objectives? To analyze the rural finance in theoretical perspective, to examine the trend of bank credit in India, to study the socioeconomic status of the rural finance, evaluate the alternative sources of rural credit in study area, to study the problems of supply and demand side. So these are the 5 objectives. So likewise, you can set objective according to your research topic. So minimum 3 objectives are sufficient. Okay. So we have to mention the objective. Afterwards, hypothesis. We have to state our hypothesis is there is no association between type of loan borrowed and selected attribute. So likewise, according to our research topic, we can have a statement of the hypothesis. So this is the statement of the hypothesis part I have covered here. Again, in the presentation, we had mentioned here the methodology. So in the methodology, you see what research instrument we used. You see here the present research work used both primary as well as secondary data. It means in earlier session we discussed sources of data, but this research is based on both primary as well as secondary data. For collecting the primary data, structured questionnaire for household. It means we use the structured questionnaire method for collecting the data, and from whom we are collecting the data? From household we are collecting the data. Okay. Again, questionnaire comprises two sections. You can mention, or it is a voluntary, but you can elaborate what kind of the questions you were included. So that is included there. Geographical coverage, it is relating to the Western Maharashtra. What are our target population? The target population is the household, and household is defined. It means we have to clear the concept. Okay. So household are the respondents or target population of this research. Again, reference period. We collected the data in the month of November 2020. It is a pilot survey. Pilot, it means for testing. So whether our questionnaire is right or wrong, whether we have to omit some questions, whether we have to add some questions. So for that, before conducting the final survey, we can have a pilot survey, maybe 10 respondents, 20 respondents, 30 respondents. Based on our total sample size, we can have a pilot survey. So pilot survey is conducted in this month, and final survey is conducted this month. So we have to mention here. Again, what kind of the sampling design and sample size is used? So you see here, different sampling techniques are there, but apart from the different sampling techniques, we used stratified sample, stratified random sampling method. Again, for selecting the entire district and villages, multi-stage sampling is selected. So we have to mention there. And this is a sampling design from all the 5 districts, and this is how we are going to select. So this is a big study. So therefore, I have mentioned these things. But a small study you can also mention. So how much sample you were collecting. Okay. So in this way, we can present the sample, and sample by location is also mentioned there. So simply you remember here which sampling techniques we use and how much sample we are going to collect. So that is important. Again, tools and techniques of analysis. Earlier I have mentioned many tools are there. Okay. And out of that, what kind of the tools we are going to use? We have to mention here. Excel, SPSS, Minitab software is used for processing the data. Again, graphical tools were used. Again, these are the charts were used. And for statistics, we use the chi-square test, mean, mode. So like that, you can mention here in the tools and techniques. Okay. Later on, you can also mention here in which way we are going to present our data. So this is the introductory part. So here, introduction, review of literature, design of study. I have covered in only one chapter because I have other many chapters. So therefore, I have put all these things in a single chapter. But you see here the second chapter, which is devotedly on rural financing theoretical perspective. It means theory is given, and here secondary data is taken. So you see table number. So whatever in earlier lecture we discussed for tabulation, we should give a table number, table title. Table title, it should be clear, and it is a head note, figures in percentage. Okay. This is a column head. This is a row head. Again, here source, from which source we have taken. So likewise for graph also, this is a time series data. So we have plotted here in the trend analysis. You see again here figure number, title, that is mentioned. So likewise secondary data we can consider for the research. So this will be the second chapter. So third chapter or fourth chapter, I will show you any one chapter. You see here. This is another chapter or research top among the research topic, among the various objectives in that particular research topic. You can split the topics into different sub chapters. Otherwise, you can mention data presented in analysis, only a single chapter if you have a less questions. So in that case, the entire inferences you can put into only one chapter. That is also enough. So you just see here, for every chapter we have to give again introduction, and we are in the fourth chapter. So therefore, you see here 4.1 introduction. Again you see 4.2 demographic and socioeconomic profile. So in that, this is a table. You just observe here table, and figures are mentioned here. So this is based on the primary data. So gender profile of the respondents, and this is the table, and table 4.2 shows the gender wise classification of respondents. So this is the interpretation of the table. Okay. So this is the interpretation of the table and graph. So likewise, we have to classify the data. So whatever the Excel data I have shown earlier, so that Excel data is converted into this classification and table. So total 1976 sample, of which 1357 are male and 619 are the female. 68.67% are male and 31% are the female. Suppose if you don't want to show the original figures, don't show. You can just show here the percentage also. That is also enough. Okay. But here this is a small table, so therefore I put both the original figures and percentage figures. So likewise, you can make it your presentation very interesting. So these are the tables, and followed by the interpretation. So likewise, you can have the table, graphs, and their interpretation. So these are the things that are included into the analysis and presentation of data. You forget about here this chapter, but you just focus on the analysis and presentation of data. In that presentation of data, you should mention the analysis of data, tables and interpretation, figures and interpretation. So that thing you just observe here. Table, graph, interpretation. Table, graph, interpretation. Okay. So sometime maybe only graph and interpretation, sometime maybe table and interpretation only. That is also fine. But in this way, you have to present your data into the analysis and presentation of data. Okay. So later on, we can move towards the conclusion part. So in the conclusion, you can also see, I will show you the last chapter, conclusion, finding, suggestion and conclusion. So here you see discussion of results, main findings and inferences, implication of the findings and limitations, suggestions for further readings. So here you see, this is the chapter 7. So again you can see numbers are given like 7.1 major findings, and sub point is there, so therefore 7.1.1. Okay. So here you see the findings. See the findings. You see in 2002, the share of institutional agency share was less as compared with 1991. On the other hand, non-institutional agency share was increased in 2002. So small sentences we have to make in a finding. Again, based on the primary data, you may also find here some findings. You just see here. Just a minute. Okay, just socioeconomic background. On that, you see here, around 60% of borrowers are below age 50 years, and education is up to 10th only. Okay, so such kind of the statements you can made in the finding. So whatever the inferences you are having in the table, in this interpretation. So based on that interpretation, you have to make a small inferences, because nobody has time to read the entire report. So someone is interested to read only the findings. In that case, they will read the this conclusion chapter. So 2/3 of the households have orange ration cards and followed by the yellow cards. So this will be the finding. 60% of households have up to 4 earning members and have an equal number of dependents. It means majority of the households are having the 4 earning members. So this is the conclusion. Again, 80% of wage earners have employment less than 6 months. It means wage earners, they are having employment only 6 months in a year, and their annual earning is the 60,000. So likewise, we have to identify the major findings from our entire research work. And based on the findings, we have to make some suggestions for improvement. So, this is the suggestions or policy implications, you may call it as. So, priority sector lending. So, these are the suggestions we will give. So, on which area they need to improve. So, likewise, we can give a suggestion. And finally, in the conclusion, you see here, only in a 2 paragraphs. The entire research report is in 200, more than 200 pages. But the entire 200 pages conclusion was mentioned in only 2 paragraphs. Only 1 paragraph also you can mention it. So, likewise, we can write the finding, suggestions, and conclusions here in the conclusion part. So this is the main body of the report. So now we can move towards the third part, that is the reference section. In the reference section, bibliography, appendices, and index is there. So now you see, after body part, this is the bibliography. What are the sources we used? So books, research papers, journals, okay. So whatever the materials we using, so we have to mention it. So we have to mention the name of the author, in which year they published, the title of the research publication, in which journal or book they published, publisher, who is the publisher, okay, in which journal they published and who is the publisher, what are the page number. So these are the things we have to mention in the bibliography by giving the references. So this is called here the bibliography. We have to mention books, reports, and this is the website. If we are taking any material from the website, so we have to mention here the that link also. That is also fine. And last thing is, I have mentioned here the data collection photographs. So if you have a primary data, in that case you can also use the photographs of the primary data collection. And you see here appendices. So earlier I have shown to you this questionnaire. So appendices. So we can mention here the questionnaire. We can put the questionnaire at the last part. Apart from that also, if you have a major table, in that case you can show it into the appendices. So in earlier introductory page, we had mentioned only the sample. But here in the sample, 1976 individuals are there. But how we selected? From Kolhapur district, from which villages we selected? On which basis we selected, like the population, distance? We considering all these things and selected. So these are the many tables. It is not possible to put into the main body part. So therefore, these tables we can put at the last in the appendices. So likewise, we can prepare a reference section. So I think you got the idea after looking that report, how to prepare the entire report. That is the preliminary section, and again the body part, and afterwards the reference section. So what are the requisites of the good research report? So good format and content is needed. Promptness, simplicity, language will be simple. It is easy to understand. Accuracy, it means whatever the figures, data we are giving, that should be accurate. Precision, it means report should not be too much long and too much short. Grammatical accuracy is needed. Objective, subjective analysis, it seems it may be like this. So such kind of the words are not expected there. Objectively, unbiased, we have to explain, and it should be audience oriented. We are convincing to the audience. In that way, we have to write the report. So therefore, these are the requisites of the good research report. And what are the problems in research report? Research report problems, it may be the weak in language, maybe the grammatical mistakes, or maybe the truth speaking or truth writing is not there. The problem of intellectual level, so it means the researcher is not able to give the justification for that topic. Conceptual clarity is not there. objectivity problem. So such kind of the problem we may identify in some of the reports, but to avoid these problems we have to focus on these points, precautions in report writing. If we focus on this, if we follow this format, then easily we can avoid such kind of the problems in the report. So report writing is a very important aspect in the entire research report. If we had an entire process very honestly, but if we unable to give much time for the report, in that case, that work will not reflect in the report. So therefore, proper writing of the report, the presentation of the data, decoration of the report, decoration in the sense proper formatting of the report is very important while preparing the report. Okay, the presentation is over. Do you have any doubts? Then you may ask. If you have any doubts, thank you. No doubts?
No, ma'am.
Any
Thank you. Thanks for the
additional
presentation.
clarification or anything needed, you may ask also. Rakesh sir, you are saying something?
No, no, I have no questions actually. Just saying the thank you. Thanks for the presentation.
Welcome.
Madam, so much thank you giving a lot of knowledge, and all of your PPT presentation is very good and very clearly. Your sound is very clearly, as well as your presentation knowledge very good.
Yes.
So I'm very thank you.
Yes, thank you. Welcome. Hurriedly, I actually presented in a first session. Too much content is there. Second, somewhat it's good. But entire research process is very interesting. Identifying the topic, collecting the data, field experiences are very interesting experience of the research. After completing the research work, you may enjoy it. The one kind of happiness you will get. So I think you are the first year. I think na? You are in first year.
No, second year student.
Second year. Oh, second year student. Yeah. I think then you have selected the topic and I think you underwent some of these steps also.
Yes, in a way, you can say. But not everything is clear. But with this presentation, most of the things are clear now. So where we need to look.
Yeah, okay. You have any problems or doubts or guidance, you may contact anytime, no issue. I'm in the university campus only.
Yeah, thanks a lot, ma'am.
Yes.
Anyone else? You have any doubts? Or we will conclude. Yes, okay. Thank you so much, madam. You have explained each and every point. Everything is covered. Actually, it is beyond our expectations.
Oh.
And I hope students have enjoyed the sessions. Thank you so much. I request Dr. Ketki for vote of thanks.
Before vote of thanks, I would like to say thank you to all of you because
Yes.
it's an online session. It's very difficult to arrange all these things. And first of all, I must say thank you to distance education team and Supriya madam. You are taking a continuous follow up and giving me an opportunity to present my views in front of the students. And all the students are listened and I hope they understand better. So thank you so much.
Yes, madam. It's our pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Ketki, over to you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Ketki. I'm proposing the vote of thanks. So it is an honor to conclude this insightful workshop with a note of gratitude. We sincerely thank Dr. Kavita Vadrale for sharing her valuable insight in both sessions, covering actual fieldwork, data collection, and analysis in the first part, and report writing and submission in the second portion. She explained the necessary points of report writing in depth with remarkable fluency and clarity, making the session truly engaging and insightful. Her expertise has given our distance MBA students much needed clarity and confidence to approach their project reports and Viva goals. I'm also thankful to Dr. Archana Madam. She was also a guest speaker in the morning session, and a special thanks to our teaching and non-teaching staff for their support in the making this session successful. Lastly, I express my gratitude to all of the participants for their enthusiasm and engagement. Thank you, one and all. Thank you so much. And here I declare that the session is over.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
I
so
think
much, ma'am. Once
Amit
again.
Nalavade sir has raised the hand. Any question?
Yeah, actually, ma'am, I would like to ask you one question. That the topic which is going to be provided, so we have to select the topic, or the topic will be provided by Shivaji University to a particular student. Means selective topics will be provided, like that this person is going.
The topic will be selected by discussing with your guide.
Okay.
You have to discuss with your guide. He will maybe he will suggest some topics, or you have to decide the topic. You have to discuss with your guide.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Yes, thank you.